It's summertime. You're sitting in the living room on the couch watching TV. You're watching an Olympic boxing match and you're thinking how bad you want to see the match in person, but how the ticket prices are just too high to justify. You're thinking to yourself, who in the world has enough money to go to these events in person? And then it makes you remember that when you were in middle school, your teacher was talking to your classroom about how back in ancient Greece, anyone who was a citizen of Greece could attend these Olympic events, and in fact, if they wished, they could compete in any event. The Olympic Games originated in ancient Greece over 3,000 years ago, and over time, it has become the world's most popular sporting event. The Games were held in the sacred site of Olympia, which is why it was called the Olympics. Olympia was located in the western Peloponnesian Peninsula, and the games were held in the summer once every 4 years during a religious festival in honor of Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. According to History.com editors, the first written record of the Olympics dates to 776 BC on the first full moon after a summer solstice, when a cook by the name of Cerobus of Elis won the first event of the time, which was a 192-meter foot race. However, a lot of people believe that this is not the first game, but this was the first recorded game of that time. The games were initially only a one-day event, but over time, it lengthened to 3 and then finally 5 days. The game lasted a full 5 days by the 5th century before Christ and included running, jumping, javelin, discus, as well as fighting, which is boxing, wrestling, or pankrashing, which is like modern MMA. They also had horse racing and chariot racing. In the beginning, the participants in the Olympics consisted solely of men. Women were not allowed to compete or even watch the Olympics. But as time went by, the Greeks began to hold a festival in honor of the goddess Hera, which is Zeus's wife, and unmarried women would compete in these festivals. The competitions mainly just consisted of foot races. Over time, eventually women were able to participate and attend in Olympic Games. The rules in these games were barbaric and unconventional, to say the least. I mean, all athletes would race naked for starters. Combat athletes would fight covered in oil. There were no points, no time limits, no weight classes for combat fighting. Boxers would wrap their hands in leather and metal, which would make the fights a lot more brutal. And there were 4 types of running events. Distance covered being 192 meters, which is the length of a stadium. That was the shortest one. 384 meters, and long distance runs, which would range between 1,300 to 4,600 meters. In the most demanding run, athletes would run between 400 to 800 meters in armor. Combat sports only ended when an athlete indicated surrender by either pointing a finger in the air or if someone dies from casualty. There was also corporal punishment for anyone who was caught cheating during any event. Cartwright 2018 stated, "There were many great athletes who won fame and glory in multiple games. Croton from southern Italy won 3 consecutive stadion races from 488 to 480 BCE. Phanes of Pellene managed to win 3 events in the Olympics of 521 BC. Leonidas of Rhodes won all 3 events in 4 consecutive Olympics between 164 and 152 BC. A feat almost matched by Hermogenes of Xanthos, known as the Horse, who won a running event over 3 Olympics between 81 and 89 CE. Mylon of Croton won the wrestling competition 3 times from 532 to 516 BC, and runner Astylos of Croton won 6 crowns across 3 Olympics, spanning from 488 to 484 and 480 BC. and Herodotus of Megara won an incredible 10 consecutive trumpet competitions from 328 to 292 BC. The Olympic Games also attracted many famous competitors outside of the sporting world to attend and compete. The great Athenian general and statesman Alcibiades won 3 chariot races in 416 BC. Philip II of Macedon won a horse race in 356 BC and then repeated his victory in his chariot races of 352 and 348 BC. Also, Roman Emperor Nero famously self-declared victory in every competition that he entered in 65 CE. These powerful political leaders would even go as far as to mint coins to commemorate their victories. The most important religious ceremony of the Olympics was the sacrifice of 100 oxen, known as the hecatomb, at the altar of Zeus. On the middle day of the festival, they would have a huge number of oxen slaughtered in honor of Zeus, and then they would have a big barbecue with it. At least 40,000 spectators would have packed the stadium at the height of the festival's popularity. In conclusion, the Olympics in ancient Greece were full of excitement and risk, from combat sports with no weight class or score systems to dangerous chariot races with royalty and common folk alike. We can see why the Olympic Games fascinated the Greeks and how it laid the foundation to the most popular sporting event of today.